Welcome to Plastics versus the Planet, presented by the Bluewater Education Foundation for Earth Day 2024 in partnership with the Bruce County Museum and Cultural Center. First, what do we mean when we say plastic? The Cambridge Dictionary defines plastics as artificial substances that can be shaped when soft into many different forms with many different uses. The word plastic is derived from the Greek plastikos, meaning that may be molded. Eastside High School in Newark, New Jersey, with support from Rutgers University and the Ironbound Community Corporation, created this to show us more about where plastic comes from.
Plastics were first introduced into mainstream society after World War II. Women began entering the workforce and becoming more independent, so single-use plastics translated into less cleaning and more convenience. Think about how many objects in your home are made from plastic. Plastics are everywhere in our daily lives, from our water bottles to our laundry baskets, to food packaging and toothbrushes, to building cars, planes, and computers. Plastics have morphed into sturdy and necessary materials of convenience for Americans. But do you know where plastics come from? Plastics are made from non-renewable resources, such as natural gas and oil. The essential ingredient in making plastics is resin, which contains small quantities that give it qualities such as flexibility or durability, depending on the kind of plastic. Resin is mixed with two other chemicals being heated at about 479 degrees Fahrenheit.
Earth Day this year asks us to think about saving our planet from plastics. But how did we get to this point? Why do we make and use so many plastics if they hurt the environment? It's important to understand how a problem started so we can solve the problem effectively without creating new problems. So, why do we use plastics? First, plastics are easily shaped. Plastics are light. Plastics are cheap, as long as you don't have to pay to get rid of them. And plastics are waterproof and don't break down easily. Let's take a moment to do a quick exercise to help us understand just what we mean when we say, let's use less plastic. Let's pause for a moment and look around the space you are in. Count, how many things do you see made of plastic? Sort those items that you see. Are they things you need? Things you like? Are they made of plastic because it's light? Because it's easy to make? Because it's easy to shape? Reflect a little bit on this. Why are so many things made of plastic? If plastics are so great for so many things, why shouldn't we use them? Well, first, because they come from non-renewable resources. Like the video said, they're made from petrochemicals, oil and gas products. Next, they're made through industrial processes. These processes produce pollution as well. They are also energy intensive to produce. They are not easy, so it takes a lot of electricity or other types of energy to make plastics. And last, disposal of plastics is the biggest reason not to use them. Have you ever thought about being an archaeologist? Well, future archaeologists will have a much easier time figuring out our civilization, since plastic takes so long to degrade. More than 8,000 years ago, humans mostly made their tools from bone, stone, shell, and wood. While these materials are durable, they are natural materials and will eventually decompose. Eventually, our ancestors discovered metals and how to combine them into alloys including bronze, iron, and steel. The dawn of the industrial era grew out of humans learning how to use petrochemicals, oil and gas, and especially coal, as a source of energy. This is the main cause of climate change, and future archaeologists will be able to see this too, in deposits of ash and soot, and in the changes to plant and animal life they will see. The plastic era starts when humans figure out how to use petrochemicals as a material. So what happens to those plastics after we're done with them? In nature, sunlight and other natural forces will break down most plastics, eventually. This is a popular fishing spot near the Outdoor Education Center in Oliphant. Note the bobbers, lures, and fishing lines from last summer still hanging on the power lines. In nature, what happens when organisms eat plastics? Well, at the same spot, this coyote scat shows what happens when an animal tries to digest plastic. Now, there are some scientists who are working on finding strains of bacteria that may be able to help us break down plastics. What can we do? Let's make it our mission today to protect aquatic organisms from plastic. We can start with the 3 R's we already know. We can reduce. Use less single-use plastics, don't buy as much stuff, think about what we want versus what we need, and buy unpackaged items whenever possible. We can reuse. Use items until they wear out, including single-use items. And last, we can recycle. Now, remember, this is the last of the R's because many recyclable plastics are ending up in landfills. You need a market for materials to recycle effectively. Today, let's add another R. Let's remove. Let's clean up our yards, streets, parks, and more. Because plastics are so light and so durable, they often end up in our water. A great place to start with this is storm drains. Water that starts in storm drains eventually ends up in oceans. Thanks to the students of Brazonia County, Texas, for their video on storm drains and what they lead to.
Water is life. Did you know that storm drains play an important role in our environment? Any toxins that wash from streets into the ditches from your yard or driveway can affect our oceans and wildlife. It is important to understand that all storm drains lead directly to our creeks, lakes, bayous, and ending up in the ocean. Any trash, plastic, or oil that enters the storm drains will eventually reach the ocean, which can seriously affect its stability.
Thanks for taking the time today to learn more about plastics and your planet. This presentation was produced by the Bluewater Education Foundation, located at the Bluewater Outdoor Education Center. We can be reached at info@bef-oec.org, and we can be found at our website, bef-oec.org. For full image and video credits, please email info@bef-oec.org.